Hey guys, I hope you're all doing well. Today I'm gonna show you the 240-liter tank in its new iteration. Yes, I have rescaped it, and this time I made it a little bit different. So I'm gonna show you step by step how I planted it and how I put it together. But before I show you all of that, let me tell you like the vision. There is no vision because I have no eye for design. It just so happens my vision is trash. I compensate with hearing. I hear very well. Downside to that is that I can hear the Biomaster everywhere. But when it comes to having an eye for design, there's none of that. But this time, I just put a little bit more patience and a little bit more thought into it. And while you will see the Aquascape that I have there is not triangular, not concave, not round or any of, any geometrical shape, it's the best that I could do. And you know what? I'm pretty happy with it because this time I actually took the time to arrange those rocks and everything a million ways until they looked good. I took the time to create a barrier between the soil and the sand, and now the soil doesn't really come in front anymore. I took the time, and bestie, it paid out. So I'm pretty happy with it. I wanted this tank to be more of a nature-y inspired tank. Usually I go for more Dutch inspired aquascapes. I go for colors and all of those things because I like whimsical stuff. This time I was pretty tame. I do still have color, but I was pretty tame. I tried more of a nature-y scape, and most of all, I wanted this aquarium to be long-term. One thing that I dislike about stem plants and Dutchy scapes and stuff is that they kind of burn out a little faster than I would like. In a year and a half, you will have to do some major rescaping in one of these tanks because there's just so much. You can cut the stems, replant them. A year and a half of that, you're gonna have way too much on your hands, so you're gonna have to pluck stuff out. You're gonna disturb maybe the layers of soil. You're gonna burn out, it's gonna burn out. They're not, in my opinion, very long lasting. They're also higher maintenance. So for this aquarium, I was a little bit more realistic with what I can do. And I decided to make it one, long lasting, because I don't have any stems in that tank. And second, low maintenance. There's really nothing I need to trim once a week in there. I don't have a carpeting plant, none of that. I have rosettes, which yes, sometime I will have a shoot that I need to remove, but definitely it's not gonna be like cutting rotellas every week, So that was the vision with this tank, and you know what? I'm very happy with it. Doesn't mean I'm not gonna make a very stemmy aquascape at some point, but it's probably not gonna be in 240 liters of water. So I hope this video will be inspiration. I will talk a lot about the plants I'm so lucky, found amazing plants, not all at once, we're going to talk about it, but I found some amazing plants new from Tropica, the Bucephalandra, Sordidula Blue, other beautiful Bucephalandra. I found amazing plants. So I'm very excited. I'm going to show you all of them, and hopefully this will inspire you. And yeah, with that said, let's start with the beginning. Alright, so here is the tank. You have the specs on the screen. It is the same Aquael Ultramax that you know from the Discus era from last year. Additionally, I purchased a new light and also a new filter for this tank. As soil, I will be using the Tropica soil, which I kind of always do because I find it locally. Decorations, my Serious stone that I have for 6 or 7 years at this point, and some wood that I found locally. Plus also decorative sand. Yes, this tank will not have a lawn, as I like to call it. It will have decorative sand. And we'll talk a little bit more about the sand when we get to it. So first I'm starting out with a thin layer of aqua soil. I placed this layer first because I did not want the rocks or anything sharp to puncture the glass. Now there are several ways you can go about this. You can put some mats on the bottom of the tank. I like to work with the soil. Now the hardscape of this tank took me a few days. I rearranged and arranged the hardscape about 1,000,000 times. I was dedicated to find something, but as design doesn't really come natural to me, it took a while, and the end result abides by no aquascaping rules. But hey, you know what? The world's still spinning. It's fine. I did my best. I'm not cut out for contests and stuff. I'm gonna enjoy my hobby still though. So yeah, the main idea was to create a barrier between between the soil and the layer of sand, because in the discus setup, the soil just invaded the sand layer, and this time I made the rock layer much taller. I also glued the rocks together using cotton pieces and also super glue. No matter how stable or heavy these rocks are, there will always be that instance when you maintain the tank when everything just crumbles if you're not careful. So I decided to glue the rocks here and there in the areas which I thought were more prone to falling. Also, I glued the pieces of wood to the rocks because no matter, again, how much they sink, sometimes they are just a little bit buoyant. So I just secured everything in place with super glue and cotton. Side note, for this, you always need to use liquid super glue, not the gel one that we use with plants. Next up, I blocked the remaining gaps in the wall with some filter floss. This is a technique I've seen many aquascapers do. I never did it myself, to be honest. But again, I was very decided on this scape to put in the work and just try to do my best. And you know what? It paid off. So in the back, I'm filling with the soil, with the Tropica soil, adding more rocks and more filter floss as I go, wherever I see that there is just a big gap through which I know soil will eventually find its way to the sand. Now in front, I will have decorative sand, but there is still a little bit of soil left, so I just brush it to the back, and it will serve as some nutrient deposits to the plants that I'm gonna plant in the sand as well. I'm not going to plant too many plants in the sand, as you will see, because I really don't think plants grow to their best potential in sand, but you will see there are a few decorative plants. Now the sand. It is the ADA Colorado sand. Can you find a more expensive sand on the market? Probably not. But you know what? I really like this sand, and I have used the ADA La Plata sand. I liked it, but it was way too white for my liking, so I decided to go for the Colorado. And absolutely, I know it is highly expensive, but I actually really like this sand, and it's just pretty much the first thing you see when you see the aquarium. So I invested a little bit. I cheaped out in other areas, but when it comes to the sand, I really wanted the ADA, so I had to order it, and I really don't regret it. It is a beautiful sand, and the Colorado is just a nice, warm, goldenish color. Now, to add a little bit more naturalness to the setup, again, I'm using some decorative rocks that I had for several years at this point. I've seen quite a few aquascapers doing it, and I thought, hey, why not? I'm gonna give it a go, see how it is, and yeah, it adds quite a bit of naturalness to the scape. The thing is, these rocks do tend to slide on the sand, so in the end, they will come to the front of the tank. What to do? Right, now comes the fun part, the planting. So you will see the plants on the screen together with their names. And as you will notice, this aquarium will have not one single stem plant. Yes, everything I have here is rosettes, very cryptocorin heavy. You will see some echinodoros, and also very epiphyte heavy. Now, I took the decision against, let's say, my preferences, as some of you might know, because I really wanted to make this scape very easy to maintain and also more long-lasting than my typical scapes, which are very stem heavy. For this reason, I also chose to not put a very nutritious substrate. The Tropica substrate is not actually very nutritious if you compare it to the ADA, let's say, or other brands. But what it does is it can keep you much safer from algae because it doesn't really give you that horrifying ammonia spike. However, you will need to supplement with some root tabs in the future. And I thought, well, yeah, it's gonna work out because I have so many rosettes and so many cryptocorins and echinodoros which have slower growth than stems that it's gonna be easy to just supplement with root tabs from time to time rather than create an ammonia spike and deal with algae. And I will say, the tank runs for a month now and there's no algae in my tank. Nothing, not even diatoms. It worked out great. Which was a little bit stressful because, yeah, when dealing with rosettes, you kind of have to rely heavily on your water changes and lower light and the CO2 and all of those things. Anyway, getting back to the plants, I'm so incredibly happy that I found the mother lode of Bucephalandras. First of all, the catagang. I have never seen such a healthy Bucephalandra ever before. It's coming from Tropica, but even for them, it is just such a good looking plant. Now, these plants need to be attached to the decor rather than planting in the soil because they're what we call epiphytes. So the rock wall is very highly decorated with these Bucephalandras, and you can see a little Anubias here as well. I actually prefer Bucephalandra to Anubias, so you won't see a lot of Anubias in this setup, but I just had to try this one that I found at the shop. And in my experience, Bucephalandra is just such a non-fussy plant, and it does so well in my environment. It likes my water, it likes the treatment that I give it, and it rarely gets covered with algae for me. It just grows very slow indeed, but it's just staying absolutely fantastic. So I got a lot of Bucephalandras for this scape. Now here's my pride and joy, the Bucephalandra Sordidula Blue, which I cannot believe my eyes that I found it in a pet shop here. Ever since I saw it in George Farmer's video, I just had to. I dreamt about it since then. And yes, personal opinion, it is the most beautiful Bucephalandra that I have ever seen. And you will see, like after a month, you will see how absolutely wonderful it is. It is indeed blue. I mean, in certain light, or rather has a blue sheen to it. It's not blue. It has a very distinct blue sheen to it that I've never seen any plant have. It's my all-time favorite aquatic plant. And you'll see what I'm talking about further on. Right, so I'm continuing with the Bucephalandras. I found all sorts of varieties that I've never seen before, and I'm curious to see how they develop and how their colors will improve over time. I think I'm offering them the best conditions to look great, since I'm offering a nutritious environment, CO2, good light, and all of those things. Anyway, very Bucephalandra heavy scape, and I'm okay with that. What it's not very heavy in is plants overall. Here's the deal. In my area, plants are not always available. I cannot just go to the pet shop, or we don't have fish stores. Just general pet shops that can have a more developed aquaristic section, let's say. So I cannot go to the pet shop and get whatever plants I need. No, it's about asking people to put orders in for me, or just buying whatever I have available now and then the rest later. So you'll notice with this scape that I did not plant it to its full potential from the beginning, because I simply did not have any opportunity to do so, and I actually kind of finished planting it last week, to be honest. So it's not gonna look very full by the end of this video, but I think it will look decent. Whenever we're dealing with a shortage of plant, whatever the case might be, budget-wise, availability-wise, whatever, we must, besties, we must rely on the water changes. It's so important. And with this scape, I actually did the water changes every day for the first 2 weeks, then every 2 to 3 days for the third week, and now in the fourth week I'm gonna do them like twice a week or 3 times a week or something like that. And that's how I managed to avoid the ugliest outbreak of ammonia and so on. I'm pretty stable at the moment, but yeah, the plants did not help me much. Now, what you see on the screen is the footage of my new filter leaking because I didn't check the gasket and it wasn't sitting properly. If you missed the review on this filter, I'll add it down below. But here we are, besties, first day down, and the tank looks not so nice. There is an apnogeton in the back that it's not gonna stay there, but hey, I found it. I didn't have anything else. I thought, well, it has faster growth, I can add it. But you will see nowadays this tank doesn't really look quite like this, but this is the first day. And this is the second day. It is brown as heck because this wood is releasing tannin like nothing else. I'm considering getting some Purigen, but it's already been 1 month. The tannin production has subsided a little bit. I can go without the Purigen for another month, I do believe. But anyway, as I was saying, water changes are your best friend when you don't really have fast-growing plants or you just don't have enough plants. So that is what I did for the past month. I was just very on point with my water changes and it really paid off. Now in the weeks to come, I did find more of the plants that I wanted as I managed to put in some orders with some people from some pet shops. I got myself some Echinodoris that I really like. I always wanted to have the Echinodoris Rosé. There are a few plants that I didn't film me planting that I found last week. So it was a process throughout all of this month to actually add more and more plants, but I managed to pull it off by doing the water changes and just monitoring the parameters. It also helped that I did not use a very nutrient-rich substrate that would release even more ammonia in my water. And as a joke, I will trademark, quote-unquote, this style of setup. It will be called the unfortunate scaper start method because you're not fortunate enough to have all the plants you want when you want them.
Right, so the first inhabitants after about a week were the red cherry shrimps that have reproduced quite a lot in my Dutch-inspired mini nano that you've seen a few months ago. From all the Neocardina shrimp, I absolutely adore the red variety. And here you can see the beautiful Bucephalandra being very blue. So these guys, I think, stand out the most, and I do want to maintain a population of only red cherries or Bloody Mary or whatever it's called in this tank. So I'm not going to mix them with other shrimps. And also, I really don't like Amano shrimps. I'm going to say it. I really don't like them. They're bullies and they eat plants in the end. Next up, we have the whiptail or red lizards whiptail capped fish that I had for about a year now, and also some rummy nose rasboras. Again, they're all coming from the mini Dutch that I used to have. Mind you, these are not rummy nose tetra, they're rummy nose rasboras. They're different and they're absolutely amazing. I love them. They're a beautiful nano fish that doesn't really school like the rummy noses. They shoal more than anything, even with other fish. And these are the first inhabitants that I already had, but later you will see I added a few more blue-white neon rainbows, dwarf rainbow. Oh my god, these names. The tiny rainbow fish that are not really rainbow fish, but let's call them the blue eyes. I added some furcatas, some luminares, and some threadfin rainbow fish. And I have to say, everybody's getting along so well. And these fish are just so active. They're like Danios. They're always swimming and doing something. And even if they're tiny, they do fill up the tank with their character. And I have to say, I really like it. So for this tank, I'm keeping a low bioload. And oh, I also forgot to mention, I have my female ram cichlid that I have for a year now. She's in there as well. And I think for now I'm good. As you can see, I don't have any snails. I'm personally not a fan of snails. They lay eggs everywhere. And the brown ones simply don't survive because of the ram. But yeah, I'm good with the animals in this tank. And I think that is about it for narration me. Getting back to future me.
Right, and here we are. The tank has been running for about 3 weeks without any algae outbreak so far. I feel like I'm gonna jinx it now, but what to do? It's something we need to go through. But I was on point with my water changes, and I also do not have a very heavy bioload. I feel like all of the fishes that I have in there, you can put them all together and they would fit within a discus and not a mature discus. I have very delicate fish. Not only are they small, but they're also very thin. So I don't really have a very big bioload. Reason why, I already started to dose some fertilizer that has nitrogen and phosphate because I don't even feed them all that much. Currently I'm using the APT line because I had it left over. I don't have an opinion on it just yet in regards to other fertilizers that I use like Tropica and other stuff. But you know, I'll see if I have something pertinent to say at some point about this fertilizer line. More than what everybody is saying already on the internet, I'll do a review. But for now, at least, I don't feel like I have anything of value to add. So fertilizer is fertilizing. I think it works. So right now, after 3 weeks, I started to dose the APT3. I started with APT1 that doesn't have nitrogen and phosphorus. And yeah, it all worked out pretty well so far. I'm still having some tannin leaching from the wood, but that's to be expected. And other than that, you know, I think everybody is looking fabulous. I'm considering of adding at some point in the future some more standout fish, and I was considering either a pair of Apistogramma borealis. I've never had anything other than rams, and rams are my soul. They're one of my favorite fish. But I always wanted to try some other Apistogrammas as well. And, you know, let's stay in the same family, you know, South American cichlids, right? So either it's gonna be that, either I'm thinking honey gouramis, I don't know. I'm not sure yet. So far, I have my old girl ram for more than a year now, and she deserves to be happy in a new home. In the future, we'll see what other standout fish I will put in there, but I'm happy with the tiny little fish that I have. I enjoy more. I discovered tiny fish that are very active and very happy to have so much space to swim. I will tell you a little secret. I did a boo-boo. at some point I added a fish that I wanted for not a long time. Since the beginning of the year, I just found out it exists, and that's a rainbow shiner. If you look on the specs for a rainbow shiner, bestie, they're not meant for me. I live in a hot climate. However, my tank is now in my living room and it will never be hot in my living room. No. So up until now, you know, the room with my tank was pretty hot. Now though, there is a chance of me being able to keep that fish. And whatever you read about the rainbow shiner on the internet says it's so peaceful and you should put it in the company of other small peaceful fish. I call BS. No, my rainbow shiners were nipping the poor blue-eyed rainbows like they were food, and especially when I was feeding them. They did not know the difference between flakes and fish. No, so I'm working on a separate tank for the rainbow shiners because goodness, they're beautiful. They're so nice. I want to give them a go. I want to experience them, but I'm making one of my 80 liters, 20 gallons just for them. That's going to be a whole different project. I don't know. In the end, I might give them to someone better. I don't know. But yeah, note to self, no. Rainbow shiners are not peaceful, nice fish. They might be peaceful with bigger fish, but no, with the blue-eye rainbows, no. Just, yeah, take it from me. Maybe I got a batch of very boisterous guys, but no, it did not work out. Other than that, that's about it on like the stocking of the aquarium. Just, you know, I want to keep it tiny, simple, no angels, no discus, nothing of the sorts. We're good with the tiny guys that I have. And yeah, that is about it for today for my tank. Hope this video was inspiring. If you're planning on making some aquascapes as well, no stem aquascapes, there we go. I'm enjoying it so far. Will I ever make a little tank full of stems and rotala macrandras and stuff? Girl, you bet I am. Of course I will, but it's gonna be a tiny one. And it's not gonna be now. Right, so with that said, thank you so much for watching. Hope you've enjoyed hanging out with me today, and I'll see you all next time. Bye!